Illiteracy is costing South Africa's economy 119 billion rand, according to a report by the World Literacy Foundation. The study has revealed that about 3 million people are struggling to read, write and do basic math. Now, to help us understand more about this issue, I'm joined by Vineet Ladia, co-founder and director of software company Edukite. Vineet, appreciate your time this afternoon. Let's start off with what motivated the World Literacy Foundation to conduct this study on the economic costs of social impact of illiteracy in South Africa.
I think one has to, thank you Hugo for having me first, and one has to understand that illiteracy impacts the future workforce of our country. So the costs which we talk about, you talked about 119 billion, we're talking of reduced earning capacities of the future generation, which ultimately links to poverty, unemployment and a lot of other social costs as well. So I think it is a very important study to analyze the root cause of where we are headed and then how do we address that.
So this 119 billion, is that current cost? Is it future cost? How do you derive that cost?
I think it's the present value of the costs in the future. So we see given the high school dropout rates and people not being able to read and write for meaning, even grade 4 learners are struggling with that. That is what the 2030 reading report also puts forward. So I think it is a huge crisis which needs to be addressed.
Vineet, sorry to harp on this, but the future is infinite. So when you talk about 119 billion, are you talking about 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? What's that timescale that you speak to?
I think the report talks about, 10 years and 15 years forward. So the primary school learners, people in grade 4, grade 5, when they are, in their, after metric, when they are in the employable stage. So I think the cost is talking about that. So we're talking about taking a 10-year horizon.
Okay. So let's talk about ask you rather to describe the research methodology that was used to gather data for this report. I mean, what's some of the most surprising or unexpected findings of the report?
I think we were not involved directly in the data analysis and the finding bit, but I think one of the key learnings out of the report is that, one needs to address illiteracy, and illiteracy can be, my inability to read or write even at the primary school level. And it also stems from the fact, the school dropout rates have been increasing. So people are not going to school for whatever reason, or they're not able to understand the subjects which are taught at school. They're not getting excited by what is happening in school. So, I mean, one needs to democratize education, so that learning can happen anytime, anywhere, and not just within the confines of the classroom. And that's where we as Edukite have been focusing on this for the last 15 years, and we have an Edukite app, which has been used by more than 1,000 schools in the country and over 250,000 learners in the country.
So what does this app do, and how does it contribute to the literacy numbers in the country?
Right. So the app is basically a complete learning solution. So at the core of the app, you have these 3D and 2D animated videos which explain all concepts. I mean, the basic premise is to make learning fun and engaging and interactive. So apart from these 3D videos where you can go inside the human heart and view the different chambers, you can go inside a DC motor and see how it functions. There are also simulations where the learner actually performs these experiments and then applies what he has learned through the videos and sees the effect, which kind of reinforces the concept. Apart from this, the app also contains very detailed videos of solutions for the matric exam papers and other exam papers, apart from assessments. So we're doing this for the 6 high enrollment subjects, mainly the STEM subjects, so mathematics, sciences, geography, accounting, and others.
Vineet, now, South Africa is not by nature, does not have by nature a great reading culture. However, a lot of young people are very much into gadgets, they're into smartphones, and will sooner pick up a solution to a problem, not from an exercise book, from YouTube or any other interface for that instance. Now, how can this app or apps or technology be used to boost literacy in light of this?
I mean, that's a good question. So people look for solutions at a single stop, right? And that is what this app is about, that you have one app on your device, so whether that's a basic cell phone or a small tablet you have, and you don't even need internet connection for this. So all your content, all your data resides on the device itself, so everything can work offline without any data costs. And then the learners are encouraged to do their own research, and in case they need to go online to do that research. But all the material, all the content, so when I'm talking of content, we're not just talking of few videos here and there. We're talking of over 1,000 videos. That is the kind of repository we're talking about. And when, as you said, so people are in this digital age, you want to see things, and most of us are visual people. So it's not about reading something from a workbook, but you see a video and it stays with you for life.
Well, you're right. They do say seeing is believing. But I have to come back to the 119 billion because it is a shocking number. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with how what the inverse cost is. What is the cost of educating people or or making people literate so that we don't lose 119 billion over the next 10 to 15 years?
I mean, at the basic level, one has to understand that access has been a big issue for our country, right? And in this digital age, to give access to every learner, whether he's sitting, in a very remote rural area or he's in an urban metro, is very easy if there is a will, right? So all you need is an app and a small device, a phone, which probably all of us carry these days, everyone, even in rural villages. So, I mean, there's nothing more. So when you talk of the complete cost, I mean, I think it's more about having a plan in place where you do massive rollouts to address this issue. And one is to pinpoint that it is basically making education exciting, which will ultimately help you, reduce these illiteracy numbers. People will want to stay in school. People will want to complete school, complete their metrics, and probably study further. So it's like a chain reaction.
Okay. So now let's come back to those literacy numbers. Where are we as a country? What percentage of South Africans are literate?
I'm not sure if I'm the right person to answer that, but the report, I think, mentions that almost 5% of the people as a country are not able to read and write properly. So I think that's taken at a country level, that's a huge number. And it also talks about, so I would refer to the reading report, the 2030 reading report, where it says that 82% of grade 4 learners, so we're talking of 4 out of 5 grade 4 learners, are not able to read for meaning. So even if they are reading, they are not able to, make sense of it.
Okay, and Sorry, I interjected. Please carry on.
Now I'm saying, so that is a huge number. So we are saying 80% of our grade 4s are not able to read for meaning, and that is a crisis in itself.
Now, if I were to say to you, how do you think the government and other stakeholders can invest in literacy programs to address this issue? What would they be able to do? What is the expectation for them?
I think 2 things. One, you have to give access to learning materials, which directly talk to the learning outcomes. So access to resources, I think, is key. And secondly, I mean, apart from access to resources, you have to, as I said, you have to make learning exciting and fun and not confined within the classroom or the school, You have to democratize education. And I think we at Edukite very strongly believe in that learning should happen anytime, anywhere. It should not be restricted to, what the teacher is telling you or showing you inside a classroom setting.